What's going on? Welcome to the Shooting the Schmidt post-game national championship. Ohio State beating Notre Dame 34-23 to win their first national title in 11 years, right?
Yeah, 11 years, 10 years, however you want to slice it up based on the season that it was 2014. So I guess you could say 10 years.
Okay, let's go with that. That works, even though it's 2025, but all good, all good.
2020,
um,
2014 season.
yeah. This is also a great start. Zach, I had 2 cups of coffee before this because I just figured I had to match your energy. So I'm gonna let you go first. What were some of your biggest takeaways from the game?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm happy Ohio State won. They're my favorite team, but looking at it from a football perspective, most of that game kind of played out how we thought it was going to play out. I mean, minus the weird stuff at the end, it felt like Ohio State was not only schematically beating Notre Dame, but they were straight up physically bullying them up until the point where it got super weird. I mean, you can look at that drive where Quinshon Judkins capped off the drive with a stiff arm touchdown. I mean, Ibuka's running through guys. Will Howard's running through guys, and then you cap it off with a Quinshon touchdown. I think that drive really embodied what Ohio State had been throughout this playoff run, and it got weird. It never got more than 8, or the deficit was only 8, so it wasn't too weird. I was never really that nervous, but I think from start to finish, you could just see they were clearly a superior team.
Yeah, I completely agree. I thought we saw a pretty typical Notre Dame tough team, fought back, a lot of quarterback run game. I thought that the biggest thing though for Notre Dame, and not saying that this would have changed the outcome. Let me preface it with that. They clearly missed the starting interior defensive linemen that have gotten hurt. I thought that was really obvious. I mean, Ohio State only threw the ball 21 times and they ran it 41, and they averaged what's that number? Where'd it go? I had it written down. 5.2 yards per carry. Like, I mean, whenever they wanted to run the football, they did. And, you were just kind of waiting on the big Jeremiah Smith play, and it happened late. And just to kind of piggyback on just how dominant they were, Notre Dame opened that game up with a 9-minute, 45-second drive,
Yeah.
and they lost the time of possession. Ohio State won time of possession 32 and a half minutes to 27 and a half. And I mean, I think that stat alone just kind of shows how dominant Ohio State was. Like you said, it got weird late, but I was, one of my buddies, he texted me just like the eye emojis, and I was like, Notre Dame's not winning this football game, man. They're gonna do something here late, Ohio State, and they're gonna put them away. And then a few plays later, we had the big shot to Jeremiah Smith. Um, Big game. I've got a couple questions written down if we want to go to those, but unless you have more thoughts first based off of what I said.
No, we can go to the questions.
So, who's more disappointed? Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Who's more disappointed? Marcus Freeman no longer having Molly McGrath follow him around, or is Molly McGrath more disappointed that she doesn't get to follow Marcus Freeman around anymore?
Oh boy, that's a coin flip. Yeah, that was something, huh? They like that a little too much.
Every game. Every game.
Yep.
No, in all seriousness, I'm gonna ask you this, and if you want to can this question for later, we can. Who's more who's more upset, or along the same lines? SEC fans that now a Big Ten team has won the national title 2 years in a row, or Notre Dame fans for actually losing the title?
I mean, the thing with Notre Dame fans is that they'll spin it like they won the title. Like anytime there's an almost or a coulda or a shoulda, they claim that as a win. So I would say probably the SEC fans, strictly because Notre Dame will talk themselves into thinking that they should have won this game somehow, or yeah. So SEC fans by far, That the South is in shambles. I watch a podcast with Doug Lesmerises and Bill Landis. They used to be on the Ohio State beat. Bill is a little bit, but um, they have a whole show about, like, it's called Kings of the North, and the whole thing is about Northern college football, and like kind of like a spinoff from Feinbaum. And I know for a fact they have a South cramometer, and I know that thing's up to 1 billion.
I bet that's you're exactly. Or that being said, like the SEC's not going anywhere. They're still one of the two best conferences in the country. I don't like. There's no question about that. You just I mean, you lived in Arkansas for 5 years,
Yeah.
4 years, yeah.
Well, it was 3 or 2.5 or 3.
Okay, so but you know though, like
Yeah, I hated it.
yeah, I know you did. um, so those were that was my biggest question. You answered my other one earlier on just like if you ever got nervous for the listeners who don't know, and if you can't see all the stuff that Zach's wearing, he is an Ohio State fan, grew up there. Um, I was really impressed with Will Howard. I thought he was awesome. The quarterback run stuff, we should have been on that. Like that's, I mean, we talked about it a little bit in the preview video of just how big of a weapon, Ohio State fans thought that would be coming into the year. But then he was like, oh, by the way, I'm also really good at throwing the football. He
Yep.
used his legs quite a bit. He had more carries than Judkins and Henderson, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. He was big, just made a lot of really good decisions, was just game manager. I don't like that term because I think game manager is just term for a guy who doesn't make mistakes,
Yeah.
which would fill in for Will Howard, but he was whatever a step above that is. Like he made plays when he needed to. He picked up that first down, I think 2 plays before they hit that deep shot to Smith to seal it. So I thought he was awesome. He's probably not going to get the credit that he deserves, but I thought he was great.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think we talked about it on the preview. Like, Will Howard's going to be in the NFL. He's going to get a shot. You couldn't. I don't know if you could really say that. I know you couldn't say that coming into this year, but I think the intangible stuff, right? Like he kind of just like we talked about. He stepped in, and you could see it this game. He just led, and he put everything on the line. Hell of a time to bring out that much volume on the quarterback run game. We knew that was something that they could do. We knew that was something Will Howard could show, but they never really got to it throughout the season. And what better way to bring it out than the national title? And some of those first down runs, man, like, yeah, he got some first downs, but he was running hard. He was running like a running back. And I think that just speaks to his leadership and how the guys and the coaching staff view him. I mean, right there at the end, if he was just a game manager, if he was, I mean, even Kyle McCord in that situation a year ago, I don't think they give Kyle McCord or a game manager, someone like that, a chance to unleash that ball late to seal it. You have to have a ton of trust in your quarterback to call that play, which is a tendency breaker, by the way. They had not done that all year. They had never shown anything like that before. That was ballsy, and you don't do that. You don't call that play. You don't expect that quarterback that you think is just, get us through, is not making that throw. And obviously Jeremiah Smith is an alien. But I can't say enough about Will Howard's 1 year at Ohio State. Second best quarterback in college football this year.
Yes, behind Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah,
that's fair. I can't think of anyone else. Even
not
though
the best pro prospect.
Yeah. Agreed. Even though if you talk to people, Will Nussmeier throws a beautiful football.
That's right. Yeah, right to the other team.
That's right. If you're currently watching the stream on Twitter, head over to YouTube, Shooting the Schmidt. You can comment and join the conversation over there. Speaking of running the football, your boy Quishon Judkins, a transfer from Ole Miss, just an absolute stud. You called it point blank. You said he was due for a big game, so I'll let you do your lap around the track.
Yeah, man, I just thought it was I thought it was his time. I thought it was really interesting. They made a concerted effort to get him the ball early. There's a play there in the second quarter where he lines up in a bunch formation and just gets a little pop pass screen, picks up 12 or 13. And you could tell that they were wanting to get him rolling, and that pass right there got him rolling. And a guy like that who is always downhill, who's physical, who wants to deliver the hits to the defense, once you start to get him going, that confidence starts to build. He doesn't think anyone can tackle him, and you get the result that you see tonight. And it's just kind of an embarrassment of riches, right? Because we hadn't seen that from Quinshon Judkins, and then he comes out and plays like the best running back in football, in college
Yeah.
football, and it's like, okay, it's hard to stop Trey when he's hitting off tackle gap runs for chunk plays 6-7, and then you get a bruiser like Quinshon that can run 70 something yards to start the half. He didn't make it. He ran out of gas. He did. He ran out of gas, but yeah, I just thought he would be a big part of the game plan. And I think we talked about it early in the game. Just the way that Notre Dame was playing defense, like they were kind of trying to do the Michigan thing where daring them to run. And I think Ohio State has just gotten too creative since that Michigan game where, you can tell they're using a lot of misdirection, a lot of counter. For Emeka Egbuka lead blocking on those misdirections and those counters, just like finding unique ways to run the football. And even that pass I mentioned with Quinshon is kind of obviously an extension of the run game. So very creative, very, pointed, intentional to get him the ball. And I just saw it coming. It felt like he was due, and he had a 3-touchdown day.
Yeah, talking about the Michigan game, like it made sense for them to be like, we dare you to run the football because we have two guys who play defensive tackle who are probably going to be, first round picks. Whereas like Notre Dame, I just, we texted back and forth a little bit about it during the game of like, I don't know, the defensive stuff was just interesting. Like they love to play man, but they were having to mix in zone. And like, this is, part of why having, Jeremiah Smith and, Ibuka and Tate and all those guys is so valuable. Because like you cannot play man, and the best defenses in college football tend to be the defenses that have a couple corners where you can like line up and play man to man. And when you have three receivers that are going to play in the NFL, you just can't do that. And we saw that on not only the deep ball, but really just throughout the game. Like it felt like every time Notre Dame played man, the ball was complete, or Will Howard would take off because your back's turned. And I thought that was a big thing. Like, I think matchup wise, this was a tough matchup for Notre Dame just from that standpoint. But then again, like you said, like Ohio State's a tough matchup for everybody because they're just more talented than everyone else is this year. I'm looking at the roster, or at least the guys skill position wise who really impacted the game. Jeremiah Smith's going to be back next year. Is that it? That legitimately might be it. Where's Carnell Tate going to be back? We'll be back.
Carnell Tate will be back probably. And then I think there is a scenario in which Quinshon Judkins is back, but definitely not for sure.
Okay. And then defensively, everyone's gone except Caleb Downs, and there's one more guy that I know I'm missing.
Either way, if Jordan Hancock declares, he'll be gone. But Igbinosun can come back. But it's the roster turnover is significant on both sides of the ball.
It is a perfect storm for Ohio State this year. It's not just like a bunch of talented dudes. It's experienced, talented guys. Where does this Ohio State team rank in terms of your favorite Ohio State teams to watch?
To watch, I don't think I can say very high because they put me through. They put the fan base through a lot of agony and a lot of pulling your hair out. So I don't think on a week-to-week basis I really enjoyed watching them as much as, like, let's say, the Dwayne Haskins 18 team or Justin Fields in 2020, or 2019. Like, those teams are probably more fun to watch. I mean, but I don't think I'm being a prisoner of the moment here. I've thought about this for a while. This is the most special Ohio State team that I've watched and that I've been a fan of. Just the idea that it's kind of I was telling my buddy this. It's like if you were going to write a movie script about a team where they had to overcome adversity, there are all these obstacles. It would be this. I mean, Jay Smith, real quick. it's like it's the whole starting 22 essentially, like we just talked about, has played 4 or 5 years and have accomplished exactly 0 goals that they set out to do when they signed their letter of intent at Ohio State. Never beat Michigan, never won a Big Ten title, never won a national title. And they all come back, right? Everybody's back, and this is the year, and we get Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith comes in, and then you lose to Michigan. Another challenge, another thing. And then for some reason, 2 weeks go by, the playoffs start, and this team turns into like essentially a team of destiny. Like that Tennessee game, I was there. It was insane. It was surreal. I don't think it clicked then. The Oregon game was even. It's just like you can't write a better story. And like for as much as we talk about Ryan Day as a coach and his shortcomings against Michigan and his shortcomings in general, I don't know how we can look at Ryan Day, hear him talk about his players, hear how his players talk about him, and not be happy for the dude. Like he's clearly a great guy and he's clearly a great teacher. And so it's just really cool to see that come together. And obviously, I'm a fan, I'm biased, but it from the inside, inside the fan base, digging in hard and being a part of that, really going in depth. Like Ryan Day's a good dude, man, and it's cool to see all those guys that came back win a national title with him as the head coach. And maybe this is a new leaf for Remote Michigan. We don't have to get into that, but I'm just proud of them. Honestly, it's really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I'm not really an Ohio State guy, but I do really like Ryan Day for all the reasons that you said. Like you can tell that he's a good guy. He's like he was clearly a good coach from the moment that the program was passed on to him. And because look, like they weren't gonna bring in a scrub to follow Urban Meyer, okay? And like it wasn't gonna happen. And he shows up and like they won games immediately. And
Yep.
as you mentioned, like there's obviously the Michigan hurdle, and he finally breaks through and wins a title, which is just awesome. And like as someone who sits across from a guy who coached college sports for over a decade, like a long time, and just hearing Dan talk every day about how hard it is to coach and to get players to buy in and to teach. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, he's got like 12 guys on his team, because he coaches basketball. But to do that with 100 and something guys is just it's incredible. I am happy for Ryan Day. I want to talk about Marcus Freeman a little bit.
Boy.
Great against Georgia. Everyone loved him after the Georgia game for obvious reasons because he was great. And then tonight, you're kicking a field goal from the 9-yard line with 9 minutes left.
Jay Smith,
What?
the clip that I put out is what looks pretty good right now.
It does. You had a good day the other day.
Looks pretty good. I mean, inexplicable. You kick a field goal after 5.5 minutes of driving down the field to turn a 2-possession game into a 2-possession game.
Agreed.
What are we doing? And then you still had a chance, or at least a semblance of a chance, at the end of the game. What are we thinking? And what are we doing with the fake punt?
Yeah, that was the most obvious fake punt ever. For the field goal attempt.
Oh,
Here's what I wrote down. You ready?
yeah.
Notre Dame field goal attempt was dumb. You likely weren't getting the ball 2 times in 9 minutes. Wasn't gonna happen.
I mean, can we try to figure out the logic?
It's you got 9 yards to go, and your receivers, with the exception of Greathouse, hadn't gotten open.
But
That's
what's the point of 3 there, though?
you don't need 2 2-point conversions. Which let's just be honest, that'd been really tough.
So you kick the field goal, you're down 13.
Mm-hmm.
So not only do but I don't know if this makes sense.
Either.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't
but
make sense. We wouldn't be talking about it if it made any sort of sense.
But my thing is like you're like even if you don't get it, you're still down 2 scores.
Agreed.
I don't think it needs. I actually don't think that there's a way to justify it.
I don't think so either. I'm entirely
Is
with you.
is that the worst field goal decision we've seen this year in college football?
Better question. Is it worse than punting the ball from your opponent's 40-yard line when you're down?
He did that too, didn't he?
No, I was referencing
Oh, that was the fake punt.
I
Sorry.
was I was referencing Signetti against Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That was cowardice. At least Marcus Freeman thought he was being strategic, I feel like.
Yeah,
Signetti was just like, I need to not lose by 40.
that's exactly right. But yeah, it didn't make any sense. The fake punt thing, like go for it. Totally in favor.
The
But I don't
fact
know.
that you brought your punt unit out to run instead of keeping your offense on the field on 4th and 2 is mind numbing.
If we want to go glass completely full, guy was open. Ball hit
Guy
him in
was
the
open.
hands.
Yeah.
He dropped it though.
Yeah.
But if it's Great House, or if it's one of your receivers that play a lot, it's
Or if
probably a
it's
little
just
bit
the
different.
Riley Leonard quarterback power.
Which worked very effectively. Do you know how many carries he finished with?
500.
Close, 17.
He had 9, and that first possession kind of screwed him. Even though they
Yeah,
scored, I texted you right away and I said, how in the world are they going to keep sustaining this?
I was sitting here and I was thinking, I was like, are we gonna get a Tim Tebow 23 carry game?
Yeah. And I am actually really shocked. That first drive was kind of crazy, but what really shocked me is the success they had in the passing game late. I just that it was kind of perplexing how many times guys were open, and I just had not seen that from Ohio State or Notre Dame. So it was just one of those, you know. Do you think it was just like human nature? You're winning. It's late in the game. Like you're just naturally letting off the gas a little bit. Notre Dame's desperate. Like, do you think it's that, or do you think that there was a scenario in which Notre Dame could have pulled that off all game?
I think part of it was I think it's more of the form the latter. I I think sorry, it's late. I think it's more of human nature. Your foot kind of comes off the pedal. They were running. I felt like Ohio State went a little more not prevent, but just a little bit more conservative. I mean, the one deep shot, for the touchdown, like that was good coverage. It was just a great throw and catch.
Yeah,
So I think it was a mix of just human nature when you're up, by that much. You just kind of take your foot off the pedal a little bit. That mixed with the conservativeness of the defense, I think that's what caused it. Because like early in the game, there was no room for them to throw the football, none. And you could tell like Riley Leonard started 4 of 7, and his 3 misses were egregious, and that was not a good look. But yeah, I mean, it was just, yeah, I think it was more of just human nature and relaxing than anything else.
I wouldn't be
Uh,
doing my job, Jay Smith, if we didn't at least talk about Notre Dame for a little longer. So, question for you.
yeah,
Question for you. They have a lot of guys coming back. Obviously, they'll have a new quarterback next year, but they have a ton of guys coming back. What what do you feel, not way too early projection for Notre Dame next year? Do we think this is something they build on, or do you think this is something that kind of is like a hindrance, kind of like a mental block? Like where do you think this Notre Dame team and specifically Marcus Freeman go from here?
I think they build off of it. Marcus Freeman's a good coach,
Are we
even
sure?
even with the blunders he made tonight. um, was his path to the national title game a little easier? Sure. Sorry, I got to throw out some jabs.
Brian Kelly could have done that, by the way, just so everyone is clear. Brian Kelly could have done that tonight.
Agreed. Tonight, definitely, definitely. Look, they have to bring in a quarterback who can actually throw. No, let me not do that because Riley Leonard made some really good throws tonight. He finally had a game where he threw for over 250 yards. It only took him 17 tries or however many games they played.
Yeah.
They have to bring in athletes like on the outside who can get open. Because like when guys were open, I thought Riley Leonard threw the ball fine
Yeah.
or good enough to win. The issue is like when you have one receiver who can get open and everyone else you're having to scheme open and like really work for, It's the same thing as Penn State. That is who they remind me of right now. They can run the ball. The defense is going to be stellar. But the question is, can you get guys to come play receiver for you who can win games on the outside?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they have CJ Carr. I think he's in line maybe to be the starting quarterback next year. Lloyd Carr, the old Michigan coach grandson. I
Who's the
think
backup who came in the last 2 minutes against Georgia?
Angeli, I think. Steve
Bro,
Angeli.
hey man,
He
he threw
threw
for
the he threw the fake punt pass.
great ball.
Yeah.
Let's put
Yeah.
that guy out there.
Really
That's the
good
thing.
call.
They're so one dimensional, and when you're one dimensional, like you're not going to beat Ohio State. I don't want to crap on Oregon, excuse me, Notre Dame, but like I don't think
I'm
that they would have
trying not
beaten.
to. I'm trying not to either. I'm
Yeah,
trying to
because
trying to keep it peaceful.
they did make it to the national title game. They did win 3 playoff games, which is hard to do. But like, do you think they're better than Texas this year? I don't. Do you think they're better than Oregon? I don't. And so I think, with that being said, like you said, they're bringing a lot of guys back next year. Experience is important. One of my concerns for Notre Dame will always be how can they do in the transfer portal, because it's not Ohio State where if you have a 2 point you can transfer in and play. Like you have to have a 3 whatever to be able to go there. And football players, some of them are smart, but some of them are not.
Yeah.
And so I don't know I guess how they build off of this through the transfer portal, because I feel like that's really what they need. They need just a little something extra on the outside, and Jeremiah Smith just doesn't show up on every campus.
Right. It's so hard to think of a Notre Dame national championship team because we've seen this exact story tonight so many times in the last 20 years. Like
Yeah.
they'll get there. They'll get there. And I think a lot of it has to do with them not playing in a conference, Jay Smith. I think not having the grind of a conference schedule allows them to be in positions like this where they get to a national title, they get to a 14 playoff, and then they low key always they high key get embarrassed. And it's commendable what they did at the end of the game. But for most of that game, they were embarrassed physically, schematically, like I talked about in the open. So it's just hard for me to envision a Notre Dame team that actually wins a national title. I think the conference schedule has a lot to do with it. I mean, you look at Ohio State. They were tested. They had to grind. Like Notre Dame, I get it. They're independent. That's so cool that they have an NBC deal by themselves. They get to keep all the money. That's sick. It's so cool. But uh but my point is like I just don't know what they're going to do to get over that hump. We have seen this story so many times. It's the same thing every time. And we're having the same conversations no matter who the coach is every time. It just I don't know what's next. I don't know how they get there.
Have I told you my Gonzaga theory?
I think so, but remind me.
My Gonzaga theory for college basketball is it's very hard for Gonzaga to win a national title because like the best teams usually get better throughout the course of the season. Like they show up week 1 and they're really good, but by the end of the year, like you mentioned, you get tested, you lose games, you squeak games out, and those things help you get better. And like I think that's a large part of why Gonzaga really struggles to win the whole thing. And I think we're seeing, to your point, something pretty similar here with Notre Dame, where like sure Army and Navy were ranked this year. Like
Right.
that's nowhere close to Ohio State or any of these other teams that made the playoff. And USC, yeah, I know you play them every year, but USC hasn't been good in forever.
You beat
And
Virginia.
yeah, congrats. And so I think that there's a lot of truth to what you're saying of like when you look in the Big Ten, like Ohio State has to play Penn State, who's one of the better teams in the country year in and year out, and they have to play Michigan, who's always tough for them, no matter how good or bad they are, because it's a rivalry game, and that's just how those games go. And
Road games too. Road games.
Yeah.
That
road
like
games.
playing conference opponents on the road is what allows a team to come into the national title ready to play.
Yeah,
I think bottom line.
I think you're right. and just the Notre Dame and the conference thing. I don't know how Greg Sankey and who's the commissioner of the Big Ten.
Tony Petiti.
I don't know how they sit there and look at Notre Dame pulling in all this money, not having to split any of it up. I don't know how they sit there and just allow that to keep happening.
Well,
So
because
I
they
am
keep getting embarrassed. If they were winning, it wouldn't be allowed to happen. I think we know that.
agreed, but like this is about money,
Yeah.
you know. And like if you're the Big Ten and you're sitting there, it's like, geez, Notre Dame just pulled in $20 million or whatever it was. I know they made 14 off of their last game.
Yeah.
Like the Big Ten's probably sitting there like, geez, like if we could pull them in and we could like split that up between all of our schools, like that'd be pretty great. And so I'm very intrigued to see what the conferences do. Like you said, if they start winning, things will change a lot faster. But yeah, I think the not being in a conference thing it's an advantage.
Yeah.
But
I wanna switch gears. I don't know how much longer you want to go. I know it's late, but I wanted to talk about the idea that Ohio State is soft. Are we ready to put that to bed?
I never said that, but yes.
But the narrative that Ohio State is soft, that they can't play physical, they're not tough. Like, I think they showed that they were pretty physically tough this playoff run.
Is that a Chip Kelly thing?
I think that's a player's thing, man. Like, this year, this playoff run is the most physical I've ever seen an Ohio State team in my lifetime. Offensively, defensively, they're cracking people.
More than 2014, 2015?
Yes.
Okay.
They were cracking people all playoffs on offense and defense. I just think I'm interested to see what the narrative is now that Ryan Day is a national title coach. I know we talked about that on the preview. It's just going to be funny to see what's next. What are they going to say next?
Oh man, Ryan Day's, he's always been a great coach. Like I never said he sucked or anything like that.
Yeah, his teams were just soft, but now you can't say that.
That's exactly right, because they ran the football whenever they wanted to tonight. You'll never guess who just popped up on my TV screen.
Who?
Molly McGrath interviewing Marcus Freeman.
Oh, gosh. One last ride. Encore.
Oh, man. They love putting good-looking people together on TV, man. That's exactly what it is.
That's why we're on TV right now.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think my last thing is, what do you think Ohio State, we talked about Notre Dame and what they look like next year. Ohio State, it's going to be a lot of new faces. Is there a chance we see something similar to last year of like Marvin Harrison is clearly the nicest thing that they have on offense, while everything else around them just kind of seems to not dragged along isn't the right word, but like clearly not on the same level as him?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely see that. I think Julian Sayin is going to be one of those ones, like a CJ Stroud type player, honestly. I think that makes a huge difference, obviously. And I mean, if you're going to look at the receiver room, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis, they're going to Mylan Graham. Remember that name, by the way, Mylan Graham.
All right. Mylan Graham.
I think they're going to be really good on offense. I think the thing that is very sustainable, whether their offense is clicking like it was in the playoffs or not, I think Jim Knowles and that defense is really, really settled in. And I think the guys they have coming up are familiar. They rotated more this year. More young guys got playing time. And I think that defense is ready to be what they were this year again. That defense is something, man. And the way that they run that defense is something, especially when you got number 2 back there. So offensively, I think you may be looking at more of a process, but I think this team with Caleb Downs specifically is poised to be the best defensive team in the country again next year, regardless of losing all those guys.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, it's Ohio State. They're going to reload. They're going to be very talented, as they always are. Do you want to close with some trivia?
Sure.
So shout out my boy, Shehan Jayaraja over at CBS Sports. Great guy. The Big Ten is set to clinch consecutive AP championships for only the second time in history, with Ohio State this year and Michigan last year. Do you know the last time they clinched back-to-back AP titles, and who the team was that went back-to-back to do it for the Big Ten. If you get this, I'll be shocked. There's your hint.
Hold on. Let me. Was it Penn State?
No, they were rowing the boat way back in the 40s.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
40 to 41 Minnesota, back to back.
I should have known that just because today I was talking to someone and they looked up how many like he told me Georgia had more national titles than Ohio State, and I was like, no. Like, so he didn't believe me, so he looked it up, and it was like Yale's first, and like Minnesota was like in the top 10. I was like, what? But yeah.
Minnesota. Okay, no, for real. Last thing. Who had more fun tonight? Fans at the game, or you trolling all these different Notre Dame accounts? I swear, every time I got on Twitter, man, you would responded to somebody. It was great.
Dude, I don't know what else I could have said throughout the week. Like I had a neon sign that said, "This is about to happen. Please listen to me," and no one did. It was weird.
I did. Well, we were on the same.
I know, but the Notre Dame fans didn't listen to me. I don't know why. I don't know I don't know why they can't. You know, like I said, it was the most obvious thing in the world. I had a chicken suit on, like I was advertising. You know, outside of, Los
Joe's Barbecue and Foot Massage.
Yeah, Los Pollos Hermanos for Breaking Bad, and I had the spinny sign, the arrow sign that said Notre Dame is not going to win this game, and then no one listened.
Well, look, they're fans, man. That's the way that it goes.
Oh, hold on. There is a difference between saying I'm excited my team is playing in the national title. I don't think we'll win, but I'll be excited to watch the game, and I hope we somehow find a way to pull it out. As opposed to, we're winning. Irish, baby. We're beating Ohio State. We're better than them. Jeremiah Love. It's like, let's have
Jeremiah Love, who got 4 carries.
Yeah, let's have some humility here. You guys are now 7. You guys are now 0-7 against Ohio State lifetime. You get notoriously blown out in every big game that you play. Like, can we stop doing this one time? Maybe the result's different if you don't act like a buffoon beforehand.
Fun fact: Jeremiah Love had more carries than he did rushing yards tonight.
Yeah, it's about right. And Jeremiah Love's the best running back in the country. Golden numbers. Oh yeah, he's gonna run all over the deep. Yeah, Ohio State's just gonna forget how to play run defense. Yeah, it worked out for you guys tonight.
You're awesome, dude. Hopefully I'll be able to talk to you on Friday where we can do bets. We are in full blown. Actually, no, that's not true. NFL playoffs are still going on.
Yeah.
We are almost in full blown basketball season, which the NBA takes over here on Shooting the Schmidt are fantastic. Just saying, your college basketball bets are the best.
They are. That's a fact.
We're about to enter prime season for Jonathan Smith and Zach Gray. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. If you want to drop your Patreon and stuff real quick, go right ahead.
Yeah, you can find my Patreon on my bio on Twitter at ZG the Grapevine. If you guys don't want to check out the Patreon right away, give me a follow on Sundays during college basketball season. Every Sunday, my projections are free. You'll have my projections and my bets every Sunday. So if you want to look and see what it's like, check it out on Sunday. See if you want to make a couple dollars and then go from there. But yeah, it's in the Twitter bio. We're up 40-something units on the year. We're killing it. We just had a 17-7 day on Saturday, plus 9.25 units. So yeah, we're rolling. Oh, nice. 7-0 in the college football postseason as well after tonight. 7-0.
Oh, let's go. That's big. Were you sweating at all?
I got a little weird. I got a little nervous at the end there.
Okay.
I texted my buddy. I texted my buddy Spencer. Well, I wasn't even worried about the cover until he made the field goal. But I texted my buddy Spencer. I was like, I'm nervous. He said, yeah, I'm a little rattled too. And about that time, Jeremiah Smith hit the bomb. But yeah, I want to go enjoy this one tonight. Yeah, I can't believe I am a national champion, which is crazy.
It is crazy. I'm, I'm so glad for you, man. Hopefully, I'll talk to you on Friday over on my radio show. Thanks for your time, man.
All right, see you, brother.
Everyone who watched, thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Subscribe to the Shooting the Schmidt YouTube channel. Check out Zach's Twitter. It's awesome. And we will talk to you again soon.